Good day, my name is Sky, and I appreciate you spending some study time with me. I'm here to help you make money in online poker by teaching you key strategies and getting you to take action. We're going to get back to study basics with this episode because I want to give you a simple 3-step process to help you avoid poker study overwhelm. You know that feeling when it seems like there's so much you need to learn, so much you want to learn, but there's just not enough time in the day, in the week, in the month, even in the year. At least it doesn't feel that there's enough time. So you're just overwhelmed with all that you want to accomplish in poker. I'm going to help you out 3 steps today. Go to the show notes page, smartpokerstudy.com/pod513. Let's dive in. Gambate.
Adding a lot of pressure to win this game, guys, but pressure makes diamonds. A wise man once said.
So it might feel that you're always overwhelmed with your poker studies and those things that you're struggling with, you're just not fixing them. You're not improving. Maybe you need to improve your 3-bet skills. Maybe you get angry way too easily, so you need to learn to control those emotions. Maybe you still can't hand read, you can't use your HUD properly, you don't know when to double barrel bluff. And you keep getting distracted by all those new videos, the new articles, that new book that comes out by your favorite author. Now let me tell you, been there, done that dozens of times over. And that's why I created my own 3-step process, so I can help myself avoid overwhelm, help my students avoid overwhelm. Now I'm going to help you avoid it as well. So step 1 is to commit to 1 strategy per week, or even 1 per day. Now, one of my favorite poker learning mantras is 1 until done with action. So whether that's for poker study, improving my membership site, improving smartpokerstudy.com, or even like doing projects around the house. Here's a fact. You've got the rest of your life to improve your poker skills. And another fact, you cannot rush improvement. It takes time and intention. So I want you to embrace these 2 facts by choosing 1 strategy to focus on for the rest of this week, or even, and it's totally okay to do this, 1 strategy per day. So a little bit ago, I mentioned 6 different issues that you might be struggling with. 3-betting skills, you get angry too easily, you can't hand read, all that stuff. If you just look at your list and you choose 1 of those items to focus on this week, and then another item next week, and another item the week after that, after 6 weeks, you will have done purposeful study and purposeful play along these 6 topics that you know you need help with. Now, I always recommend to choose the thing that's most important to you and start with that. But if you don't know, you look at that list of 6 topics that you need to work on, and you don't know where you should start, just roll a die. Whatever it lands on, number 3, number 4, boom, that's what you do. No thinking necessary, just get it done. Because you do thing 3 this week, roll the die again, next week you're working on thing 6. Roll the die again, the week after that, thing 1. After 6 weeks, you'll have studied each topic, and you're going to be so much better for it. Now, if the idea of focusing on 1 thing per week is too tough, just do 1 per day. This episode is coming out on a Monday, assuming you're listening to it on the day of release. Choose 1 thing to focus on today. Tomorrow, a brand new thing. If your mind's pulling you in a million different directions and you can't focus on 1 entire strategy per week, a new strategy day by day, absolutely fine with me. Now, step number 2 to avoid overwhelm is to embrace JOMO, which is the joy of missing out. So let's assume you chose to work on c-bet bluffing, specifically double barreling this week. So all of your studies and all of your play will be dedicated to practicing those skills. But what about that newsletter email that came in that is giving you some new blind defense strategy? Or the YouTube notification about running Poker Tracker 4 reports? And maybe in the Poker Forge, I release a new video about calling on the river. What do you do about those? Those all seem like useful, necessary strategies to learn, but you're focused on double barrel c-bet bluffing this week. So here's what you do. You delete those notifications and you be happy about it. You allow yourself to feel the joy of missing out, the joy of ignoring those shiny new things, because you know for years now that those shiny new things, they've always pulled you away from whatever your most important focus is. And those items are always going to be there for you to study in the future. You can even create a Google document or a part in your poker journal where you just copy and paste the URL for those things. And when a week comes up or even a day comes up where you don't know what to study that day, boom, you have a whole list of things that you ignored in the past, but you can get to it right now. And step number 3 for avoiding poker study overwhelm is to practice the things that you learn before learning more. So maybe you watched a double barrel bluffing video today and it taught you 4 things. Number 1 is what HUD stats to look for when you're double barreling. The bet sizes to use could be thing number 2. Thing number 3 it taught you was gauging how their range interacts with the flop. And thing 4 was how to plan for double barreling the turn. So you watched that one video and you learned 4 important strategies, or even just 4 important aspects to one overarching strategy. You learned them from the video, you took notes, but practicing them gives you experience. And that experience is how you're truly going to improve your skills because action is the greatest teacher. That's another one of my favorite poker maxims. So how do you practice the 4 things that you learned? Here's one idea for each of those things I just mentioned. The first thing you learned was HUD stats to look out for when double barreling. So how you can practice this is write down the HUD stat percentages that you're looking for, write it on a piece of paper. Analyze the player HUD stats and write the names of the perfect players to target for c-bet bluffing. Then you can target them while playing. You can also look at prior hands in your database, look at prior tables that you played on, analyze all of those opponents just for practice on looking at their HUD stats and finding great double barrel targets. The second thing you learned was the bet sizes to use for double barreling. So what you're going to do to practice it, write down the recommended c-bet sizes on the flop and the turn, then force yourself to use them as you play. And if you're not involved in the hand, they open raise somebody else called, put yourself in that c-better's shoes and decide what size you would use based on the opponent he's c-betting against, the pot size, and the board. The third thing you learned from that one video was gauging how their range interacts with the flop. So you can practice this in-game by when you get a caller, you put them on a range of hands. Then when the flop hits, you try to figure out how well or how poorly their range interacts with the flop. And continue that range thinking when you see the turn. Even when you're not involved, 2 other players get to the turn. You're doing the same thing, practicing ranging them and gauging how their range interacts with the board. The 4th thing that you learned from that one video was how to plan for double barreling the turn. So the way you're going to practice this thing is for every hand that sees the flop, whether you're involved or not, analyze the situation and gauge whether it's a good double barreling spot. Now that is a ton of things to practice in one play session or even one study session. So I'd recommend doing each of those things 1 per day. That's taking one video and spreading out what you're learning in practice sessions through 4 different days, even 8 days or more. You can easily practice all those things for 2 or even 3 days each. The idea is that you want to play with purpose and study with purpose to become comfortable with all 4 of those strategies that you learned from the one video. Remember one of those facts I gave you earlier. You have the rest of your life to improve your skills. So allow yourself all the time you need to practice, whether it's in-game or during your studies, so that you don't feel overwhelmed. Put these 3 steps into play this week and enjoy avoiding poker study overwhelm.